The Oculus, which is located in Borean Tundra, well, in Caldara to be precise, is a level 80 dungeon, and also you can do it at level 80 on Heroic. There's 4 bosses in total, and there's 5 achievements. These achievements, of course, go to Glory of the Dungeon Hero, where you can get your Drake, and all 5 of these achievements are tied to the last boss, which is Ley-Guardian Eregos. So you don't need to worry about any of the first bosses. There is just one thing that you do need to bear in mind, and we should really start with that first. The achievement is called Make It Count, and it's to kill the final boss of the Oculus within 20 minutes of the first boss dying. This is a very gear or even group composition dependent achievement that will naturally be achieved as people gain more gear. Simply, a timer is started once you kill the first boss, which is Drakos the Interrogator, and you then have 20 minutes to defeat all the trash, the second boss, third boss, and of course the final boss. The easiest way to get this is to run 1 Ruby Drake and 4 Amber Drakes to kill the final boss as fast as possible. Now there is also a really cheesy strat that I've seen that I want to include in this video, but when it goes live, it may not work, but it did work historically in original Wrath of the Lich King. So basically, the way you actually do this is you go into the instance on normal and kill the first boss, because once you kill the first boss, the cages behind him become available, so you can actually speak to the NPCs and get a Drake. Once you've all got your Drakes, which again, I would recommend 1 Ruby and 4 Amber, but actually, if you are doing it in this cheesy way, it's probably not going to matter. You could go 1 green, 1 red, 3 Amber. You want to fly above the first boss location, dismount, and die. Now, when you all run in as ghosts, wait out the front of the instance and change the instance to Heroic. So now when you go in the instance, you'll still have the Drakes in your bag. So you can then fly up and clear all the trash first, and now more or less just go from boss to boss. And like it says there, have fun with 10 minutes time to kill the end boss, because it really does make that much of a difference. But if it works, it works. If it don't worry about it, just do it the hard way, which is not particularly hard anyway. So starting with the first boss, you've got Drakos the Interrogator. Now he's got a few abilities, which is Magic Pull, where the boss teleports all members of the party to himself, Thundering Stomp, where the boss stomps the ground, dealing physical damage and knocks them into the air. It's worth noting that also on Heroic mode this slows, and then it summons Explosive, so the boss summons multiple bombs that move around the platform, and they're triggered on a timer, not proximity. So the general tactics you want to do here is just get your tank to tank the boss in the middle of the platform. Healers and DPS rotate around the platform, with ranged and healers moving away after a magic pull. The bombs do minimal damage, but just don't get hit by loads of them. We won't worry about normal loot, we'll just focus on Heroic, but you get Band of Torture from this boss, which is a tanking ring with defense, armor, strength, and stamina. It also drops a cloth chest with haste and spell power with 2 sockets, which is actually particularly nice for pretty much any caster. It drops Scald Armor of Drakos, which is a Mal caster chest with crit and spell power, or it drops the Interrogator Sword, which is hit and attack power with stamina and a 1.6 speed, so not too bad at all. And like mentioned at the start when we was talking about the Speedy Clear achievement, now it's time to get your Drakes. Now the red Drake is your stereotypical tank Drake with an ability called Searing Wrath, which deals fire damage, and it jumps to nearby targets, which makes it fantastic at picking up the whelps on the last boss. It's got Evasive Aura, which generates evasive charges when hit by attacks and spells. It's got Evasive Maneuvers, which spends your evasive charges to avoid all incoming attacks and spells, and each attack or spell avoided consumes 1 charge. And it's got Martyr, which becomes active after you've defeated Mage-Lord Urom, which is the 3rd boss, which we'll get to shortly, and this redirects all harmful spells cast at friendly Drakes for 10 seconds. This synergizes extremely well with evasive maneuvers. Your next Drake is your Emerald Drake, which is basically your healing Drake, and it's got an ability called Leeching Poison, which deals poison damage, leeching health from the target to the Emerald Drake, which stacks 3 times. You've got Touch the Nightmare, which consumes a moderate amount of health from the Emerald Drake to deal equal damage to the boss, and it reduces its damage by 25% for 30 seconds. You can see you're going to want 100% uptime on this on the final boss. And once again, when you unlock the last mechanic after defeating Mage-Lord Urom, you get Dream Funnel, which channels a heal to a friendly Drake, consuming the Emerald Drake's health to heal 5% per tick every second for 10 seconds. Finally, you got your Amber Drake, which is basically your DPS Drake. You've got Shock Lance, which deals damage to the target and detonates all of your shock charges on the target, and it also deals increased damage for each charge detonated. You've got Stop Time, which freezes all dragons for 5 seconds and applies 5 shock charges. And after defeating Mage-Lord Urom, you'll get Temporal Rift, which channels a rift on the enemy dragon for 10 seconds. It increases the damage taken by the target by 100%, and for every 15,000 damage done to the dragon, it generates 1 shock charge on the target. Now you know your Drakes, let's get on to the second boss, but we will come back to how to use those Drakes on the final boss soon. So after clearing all the trash out, you're going to get to Varos Cloudstrider, which has only got a few abilities. Energized Cores, which is a cone attack. There'll be a small lightning beam that shows to demonstrate where the cone will hit when the boss casts his next energizing core, and this does significant damage. It also does Amplify Magic, which debuffs a player to take increased magic damage and increased healing, similar to the mage spell of the same name. This is dispellable, and it's got Summon Azure in Captain, where Varos summons a Drake to shoot fire at a target, just don't stand in the fire. So the basic tactics for this boss is just don't stand in the predefined cone, especially if you have Amplify Magic. Dispel Amplify Magic as soon as possible, as all the damage on this fight is magic except for the boss's auto attacks, and don't stand in the Drake's fire. One thing worth noting, which is not mega important, but it's worth killing any sort of roaming around Drakes, because they can pull when you actually start the boss. So before you start the boss, it's worth just killing any nearby Drakes as well. And this boss can drop Azure Ringmail leggings, which are a Mal sort of hunter enhancement shaman legs with agility, stamina, intellect, crit, and attack power. Cloudstrider's War Axe, which is a one-handed tanking weapon with 1.9 speed, strength, stamina, defense, and expertise. Gloves of Radiant Light, which are haste and spell power leather gloves. And plate trifactor legs with strength, stamina, agility, and a decent amount of hit. After you've chased Mage-Lord Urom around all the platforms at the top, killing all of the beasts that he summons, he'll move to the middle of the instance, you go down, and this will start the encounter. He's got a few abilities. He's got Frost Bomb, which casts on the tank, and it deals frost damage and leaves a patch of frost that slows targets and deals periodic damage. He's got Time Bomb that instantly deals large amounts of arcane damage to a target. This damage is increased based on the target's missing health. And Empowered Arcane Explosion, where the boss teleports to the middle and starts casting Empowered Arcane Explosion, and it deals massive arcane damage to any target still in line of sight of the boss. A little bit like Aran, when he pulls you all in Karazhan, and then you have to run to the edge of the room. Basically the same, apart from you need to run behind a pillar. So the general tactics to this is the boss is just rotated around the platform, with the healers and ranged DPS staying ahead of the tank's rotation. Continue to kite the boss out of the frost bomb, and the healer needs to keep everyone healthy to avoid time bomb damage. As soon as the boss teleports, immediately hide behind one of the pillars of the platform until the boss re-engages, and rinse and repeat. Now, quite honestly, with the amount of DPS most people will be doing, this will be dead before it even teleports. And if you've got a highly skilled healer, you can probably just stand in the patches of frost and stand and nuke and not worry about rotating round. But the real tactic of how you do it is you want to kite it around the circle. And once you've killed this boss, on Heroic, it will drop a ring with stamina, intellect, spell power, and 21 mana per 5. Catalytic bands, which are holy paladin bracers, with stamina, intellect, crit, and spell power. A nice spellcaster haste trinket, where your harmful spells have a chance to strike your enemy, dealing 1168 to 1752 shadow damage, and that gives 74 haste rating. And Sash of Phantasmal Images, which is a cloth waist with spirit and spell power. If Winter's Vow is on at the time, this boss also has a chance at dropping the green winter hat, which you will need as part of an achievement. Now it's Ley-Guardian Eregos time. You'll fly up above where you just killed Mage-Lord Urom, and let's talk about his abilities first. His single target attacks deal moderate damage. He's got an Enraged Assault, which increases damage done by 25% and casting speed by 100% for 12 seconds. He's got Planar Shift, where he becomes invulnerable and summons orbs that explode after 18 seconds, dealing massive damage. He also summons whelps that appear during the fight, and they're typically just an annoyance. The Red Drake Rider should be able to pick all of these up. So your tactics will depend on your group comp with the Drakes. A standard comp like 1 red, 1 emerald, and 3 amber would mean that the red Drake will be able to tank the boss, the emerald Drake will maintain touch, the nightmare, and heal, and 3 amber Drakes to DPS the boss. As mentioned before, notably you want the emerald Drake to maintain 100% uptime of touch of nightmare, and you want your amber Drakes to communicate and set up a rotation of using stop time, and this is in order to nullify the boss's enraged assault phases, which then just leaves your red Drake tanking the boss and taking all the whelps, and the red Drakes actually do very good damage as well. But it really is easy. If you get your amber Drakes rotating that stop time, and you know, one of them's always channeling into the boss while the other ones are doing like the shock lance, the boss does die pretty quick. So now talking about the achievements that come from this boss, one of them is really time gated, because Experienced Drake Rider requires you to kill the final boss of the Oculus while riding a ruby, emerald, and amber Drake. So this achievement will always take you at least 3 days to complete due to the heroic lockout. It is a personal achievement, so it only requires you to ride a Drake that you haven't ridden before. So if you've already done it as a ruby, you've done it as an emerald, now do it as an amber and you'll get the achievement. The next 3 achievements really tie together nicely, because you've got Amber Void, which is to kill the final boss in Oculus without anyone using an amber Drake. The same goes for the Emerald Void achievement, but this time no one using an Emerald Drake, and of course Ruby Void with no one using a Ruby Drake. You can complete multiple of these achievements at the same time. So if you went in and 5-manned it as an Amber team, you would unlock Emerald and Ruby. I would say you'll see the majority of people unlock Emerald and Ruby at the same time by running 5 Ambers, because just using 5 Ambers you can rotate slows and beams to kill the boss very quickly and safely. Amber Void, however, is not overly difficult. You could comfortably do it as a 5 Emerald Drake team comp. It'll allow you to slowly kill the boss while maintaining heals on each other, or even running something like 2 Red, 3 Amber, or even running something like 2 Ruby, 3 Emerald, or 2 Emerald, 3 Ruby. Ultimately, the rubies do pretty decent damage, and as long as you've got a healer or 2 in the group to negate the fact that you haven't got time stop from the Amber Void, you'll be golden. And this is where the loot gets a bit exciting, because you're going to get some epics. But first of all, you get a design for the Jewel Crafters called Bracing Earthsiege Diamond, which is 25 spell power and 2% reduced threat. Of course, you're going to get a Frozen Orb, because it's the final boss. Cache of the Ley-Guardian may be added, which has a chance at a mount, and normally just gives a bunch of gems. I don't think it will be in Phase 1, personally. But then for the epics, Cuffs of the Winged Leviathan, which is a cloth pair of wrists with haste, spell power, and spirit. Gauntlets of Dragon Wrath, which is strength, agility, and stamina plate gloves with hit rating. Leggings of Protective Auras, which is a nice Holy Paladin pair of legs with 2 sockets, haste and spell power. And Staff of Draconic Combat, which is a decent haste and spell power staff with a ton of spirit on as well. And then just for the blues, you've got Agent Dragon Spirit Cape, which is just haste and spell power back with stamina and intellect. Crown of Unbridled Magic, which is a cloth head with a meta socket that you're absolutely going to want, but this also comes with spirit and spell power. Ley-Guardian's Leg Guards, which are a nice pair of tanking legs with defense and hit. And Mask of the Watcher, which is a nice expertise attack power leather head with agility and a meta socket and another blue socket. And Breathe. That's it. That's everything you need to know about the Oculus. Hopefully you found it useful. Hopefully you'll take away some tips and tricks for doing the last boss and how you're going to set up what drakes you're using. If you enjoyed the video, as always, like, subscribe to the channel for loads more, and roll the outro. There's lots of ways you can support the channel to keep me here putting out World of Warcraft content and covering all future MMOs. Consider joining the channel as a member. You get access to emotes. Everyone will know you're a member when you comment on future videos, because you get a nice icon next to your name. And you get access to members-only videos, which I'll be putting a lot of on the channel throughout the year. Additionally, there's a Patreon link in the description as well. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you on the next one.